Alrighty, it's been a while since I made the first one. We are going to make the second part. This is the second part of how to make a shooter.
Yes.
Don't mind this. This is just the title. This is just the picture of the video, right? Right. There we go. So we left off with having an enemy, having the player being able to move and being able to shoot a bullet. Well, this is where we are going to learn how to fire. This is where we're going to make an enemy. So, make a new sprite, call it enemy. Click, get to this part, which is the circle creator again, and choose any color you want as long as it isn't the same color as the player. I'm going green. No, I'm going red. Okay, and make yourself a circle. Don't want an outline. Okay, now we've gotten the enemy. The enemy will have to basically the enemy will be the original part of the enemy is hidden. And now all we've got to do is make a spawning mechanic. Basically all it is a forever wait and then create. Basically all this does is allows enemies to spawn in the center, but this only works in the center. So next step is we're going to need to make a generator where we generate areas. Where we generate, not areas, we generate where we basically are currently going to code where the enemy is going to spawn. Make a new variable. Name it spawn position. Or spawn pos. Now set spawn pos to 0. Each time before we create a clone, you want to place down a set spawn pos to pick random 1 to 4. In the clones, right here, you're going to want 4 ifs. In operators, get 4 equals, and then put 1, 2, 3, 4, and then fill them up with spawn position. Okay. Oh, and you do realize that you can still talk.
I was just being quiet.
Next step is we're going to need to get the spawn location to make them actually spawn. Put in a go-to into each and every single one of these spots, and then bring out a pick random, 2 pick randoms. The first one will be put in these exact numbers, negative 180 and 180. In the second one, put negative 240, and in the other one, negative 240. Duplicate these twice. Plop them in here. Very end. The 240s go into the X position, and the 180s go into the Y position. For spawn position 1, go to the X position has to be 240, and then negative 240 for 2, and then negative 180 for spawn position 3, and 180 for spawn position 4 for the Y value. This allows enemies to spawn. And at the very top, make sure to place down a show block. And as you can see, it spawns enemies at the edge, always. Let's quickly just disable this. As the enemies spawn, we're going to need a quick way to eliminate enemies very instantly. So get in a when I start as clone forever, or repeat until touching bullet. Inside the repeat until is you want to point towards player and move one step. At the bottom side, put in delete this clone, and basically all this is doing is if the bullet is touching the enemy, it will kill the enemy instantly. Put this here. Next step is going to be basically that is the enemy will spawn, it will go towards the player, and if you hit it with a bullet, it will disappear without destroying the bullet, because this is going to have just because things. I deleted that by accident. Alright, right now there is you can just phase right through the enemy without a problem, and as soon as the enemy touches you, they kind of like disappear. That's only because the main bullet sprite is shown, so when the enemy touches you, they don't disappear. We want the enemy to stack on top of you. So in the bullet sprite, put in a hide and the green flag clicked, and a show on the clone. This basically means that enemies can go right through us without problem, and then we could quickly just click and the bullets will kill them. Alright, if you want enemies to have a color when depending on the distance towards you, if you want the enemies to have a color depending on their HP, well, I'm going to be doing that. So, we're going to need, if you want to do that, if you don't want to do that, then you could just, skip ahead to find out exactly where, because I don't have any editing powers yet, so yeah, you kind of have to do a skip of faith. Next step.
Yes!
In the enemy sprite, if you want it, depending on what you want it to be. Bring out when I start as clone. However, if you want it to be distance, all you have to do is set color to distance. Where is it? Distance to player. And then click go. Or green flag. And the enemy's color changes on how close you are.
In a minute, would you be able to give me a hand?
Yeah.
You'll have to put the hoover in and get it on the nozzle and hold it underneath for me.
Okay. Now.
In a minute.
Okay. If you want it to not be like this, instead you want it to be that the enemy changes colour on its HP, then that would be a bit more difficult, since each enemy would have to have a new health bar, which every time I do try and do that, it doesn't tend to work. If you want enemies colour to be varied upon their health, then you're going to need to make use of lists and other stuff which will break easily. So yeah, if you want the enemy to have health with them, you're going to have to make different sprites for them, so you can actually get that thing to work. So, if you have two sprites, you want one dude to have if you set if basically what we're going to do is we're going to have in this forever we're going to have we're going to have two ifs. The top if will have if we're going to have two costumes, then the top if will have the color, and the bottom number would have no color, would be the original color, and then the bottom number would be changing the color. If there's two, then it's going to be 100, and yeah, so each time you change the enemy color, that will be changed. And basically, what we can do is we can just make the bullets. Basically, if a enemy touches a bullet and its costume, basically, let's make a new part of this. A randomizer, a creator. Before the repeat until, we need to put in an if, and then we just need to pick random. Since there's only two sprites, this can be a 1 in 10 chance for you to get a zombie or an enemy that has twice as much health. All you gotta do is use costumes. Like in Zombified, I use costumes to determine what the enemy does. And if you click the green flag, the enemy will be blue. That means it should take 2 hits to die. So, let's get its second hit to work. Basically, all we've got to do is we need an if. If, and if else, really. The else goes there. So, we need a greater than. If costume number is greater than 1, that's basically saying, is it 2 or bigger? As long as it isn't 0 or 1, then we'll do something else. We'll just go back 1 costume. We need to switch costume. Yeah? What?
Yeah.
I am back. Sorry about that. Basically, we've just got to now make it go back 1 costume. Make sure the higher. If you are going to be wanting to do this, each costume will have to be in here, costume number. Instead of being the costume number, you're going to need to be costume name. Costume 1, and change this to costume name. And if you just want this to be simple, remove all of that and just switch it to the right number. So just have to put 1, 2. And if costume name is greater than 1, then all you've got to do is go back 1 costume. Now that we've done that, make sure the smaller costume is always at the bottom below. Basically, if you have 2 costumes, 1 has to be at the bottom. If you have 3 costumes, you need 3 at the top, 2 in the middle, 1 at the bottom, and so on, and so on. Basically, then if 1 is smaller than 2, so 1 goes below 2. 2 is smaller than 3, so 2 goes below 3.
Is it with your Xbox?
No, it's we are adding shelving to the bathroom, and he needs the Hoover so he can suck up all of the dust that comes from the wall when he's drilling into the wall. He will need to be again because he's putting up his second one in a bit. Okay.
Logan, can I say something? The remastered charting for Song 1's done, and it's so much better.
Okay.
I was wondering if you could start a record and
I'm still
what?
doing the video.
Mm.
Okay. Next step, we need an if. No, we don't need an if. We need to wait until. Wait until not touching bullet. This basically prevents any of the enemy from dying instantly when it touches the bullet. Next step is we just gotta get it to spawn. And we could just quickly make this a 50-50 chance for it to spawn by setting these two numbers to 2. Ow. And basically we just have to get lucky for it to choose costume 2. So I'm gonna give costume 2 an outline so I can tell if we get one. No, 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 no. What if I make it only that it's allowed to select 2? It becomes 1. Why? Repeat until touching ball. That's why.
What?
So about that, people. I chose the wrong thing. So we need an if touching bullet here. And then if we are touching the bullet, if we've costume 1. If we are touching bullet, basically this detects if we are touching the bullet. If we have this, basically bring this out. Basically, if our costume number is greater than 1 when we touch the bullet, to go to the next costume, which is going back. That would automatically change the color. And then and if it goes to costume 1, it will then kill it. Instead of it being a repeat until where it instantly gets sent down. There we go.
Oh.
As you can see, it successfully transformed the blue enemy into a red enemy. Successfully, meaning that we no longer have to worry about any more bugs to deal with that problem. So, now that we've figured that out, we've gotten it sorted, and basically, you could just have as many enemies as you want, and it will always be how you want it to be. Why is it? Oh, there we go. Blue zombie enemy. Basically, if you shoot a barrage of bullets, it won't kill the enemy until until it's no longer touching any bullet, and then it will die. So how about we make the next episode, which is just the next episode, we will be getting new types of guns. Background will be up to you, basically. Next episode, we'll be dealing with the background. We'll be dealing with the player costume and everything else. But before we end this episode and I start making the next episode, let's quickly show you what happens if you have more than a single enemy. Say you have 5 enemies. By the rule, we have 5 at the top, then 4, 3, 2, 1. In this part, it's only made to deal with 1 and 2. So we just make 5 copies of this script and add the others. 50 we can do. So we do 25, 50, 100, and 150. We change the numbers by 50 because of reasons. And this, and then this part is where we have to make the next part of it. It's already a 1 in 9 chance for this part to occur. This script will have to go into multiple different spots. Basically, we need one for each thing. We need 1, 3, 2. We need 1, 2, 3, and 4. One's
Yeah?
already sorted, so we just have to get 3, 4, and 5. One always has to go in the else part. Basically, if you have multiple, well, the if else goes into, if you have 3, it's an if else with the chance. Then you have the second enemy type, which takes 2 bullets. Then the third enemy type, and then you have the third enemy type, and then the first enemy type goes in the else. And basically, you repeat that logic until you've gotten all the dudes. And you can duplicate this thing, and you could just change it. You could have it a 1 in 12 chance to get enemy type 3, or 1 in 13 chance to get enemy type 4, and a 1 in 15 chance to get enemy type 5. And basically, this just, oh, and what's this enemy? That's the blue enemy. Purple enemy! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so the purple enemy is enemy type 5. How about we put on a number for each enemy so we can tell which enemy is which? Enemy 1 will have no number. Well, enemy 1 will have 1 on it. We need to change the color to black and center it. We need to make sure that this is the same for everything. We center each number, and as long as it's not poking out, that's fine. If it is poking out, you're going to need to adjust it. Because you don't want it to be sticking out. Basically, all this allows us is to figure out which enemy type we are dealing with, and allowing us to quickly figure out how many more hits each enemy has. Enemy type 1 only takes 1 hit to kill it. Enemy type 2 takes 2 hits before finally perishing. Enemy type 3 takes 3 hits to kill it. Also, the numbers aren't necessary. If you don't want the numbers, you don't have to have the numbers. The numbers are like just the numbers only. The numbers in this thing, all the episodes from now on with the enemy will have numbers for the enemy to make sure we can tell what type of enemy we are dealing with. We haven't encountered enemy type 4 or 5 yet. Never mind what I just said. Enemy type 5 is still waiting to be seen. I just want to... So, enemy type 5 is the blue, is the purple enemy. We encountered 2 of them in the first part. Don't know how at all. We were just lucky enough to encounter the enemy type 5 the first time. And now we aren't actually lucky at all to find enemy type 5.
Logan,
Yeah?
where the hell did you put your vocals?
In icons.
Like, no, I meant like not the left, right, like the normal ones.
In the icons.
It's not there, doofus.
I did make them.
But not there, man. I'll check.
I swear to God, if it hasn't saved.
Yeah, it didn't save.
Great. Oh, finally! Enemy type 5 just appeared. So as we can tell, that enemy type 5 is the purple enemy.
Logan, do you think you should wrap up this episode? It's been like half an hour.
Look, I paused it before, it hasn't been that long. Anyway, that's the end for this episode. The part 2 has been finished. Well, have a good day everyone, part 3 will happen soon. Okay.